Our final guest is best-selling author Patricia Cornwell. She is joined by my colleague Elizabeth Vargas, anchor of NewsNation's Elizabeth Vargas Reports. Elizabeth, over to you.
Patricia Cornwell, you started your career as a journalist. You ended up working in a morgue. Okay, how did that happen?
I needed to do research. I decided I was going to write crime novels after being a police reporter and doing a biography. And when I was a crime reporter, no one would ever tell me what happened to the body after it left the scene. And I became insanely curious about that. So I got an interview with a medical examiner in Richmond, Virginia, Dr. Marcella Fierro, and she showed me around. Mm-hmm. And the thing that clinched it, it wasn't the morgue itself, because it wasn't all that interesting, and autopsies haven't changed that much over the centuries, really. But I said, what's new? What's coming down the track? And she said, well, there's two things. One is something called DNA, and the other is using lasers to look for trace evidence, or science. And I thought, wow, I want to learn about this. So slowly but surely, I got a job there. I thought it'd be quick. In a year, I'd write a best-selling novel and I could say goodbye to that place. Well, it didn't work that way.
How did it work?
6 years later, I finally left a full-time job and 4 books. The first 3 nobody wanted. Then I wrote Postmortem, and nobody wanted that at first. And then Scribner's barely took it. And then it went on to win all these awards and everything, and things changed.
And there your career was launched.
What I always tell people, don't give up.
Yeah. I'm curious, the first 3 books did not center on your main character, Kay Scarpetta. And it was a tip from an agent. Tell me how that happened, that made you switch.
Yes, God bless this
main character.
And she's not around anymore, Sarah Ann Freed, the editor, who I never even met, still to this day. And like I said, she's not around anymore. But she was the editor of The Mysterious Press, and she rejected the first one, then the second one, then the third one. So 3 years have gone by. And she was kind.
Did they ever tell you why they were rejecting
I don't
them, or
even
just
remember
no
why,
thanks?
but she said nice things, I sort of knew, but she at least treated me like a human, okay? So I returned the favor by violating her boundaries and calling her on the phone. And I got the directory assistant to tell me the number for The Mysterious Press in New York City, my little, in Richmond, Virginia. And I get her on the phone and I say, I'm so sorry, this is so-and-so, and I know I'm not supposed to do this. I said, but please tell me, should I quit? And she said, no, I don't think you should quit. And I said, well, then what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
And she said, well, your best character is this woman medical examiner who's a minor character. Your main character is a dud. And your plots, I mean, is this what you see in the morgue? Because I was writing about buried treasure and cheated wills and Agatha Christie-ish kind of.
Yeah.
With 20-page autopsies thrown in the middle of all that. No wonder nobody wanted it. I said, no, it's not what I see in the morgue. What I see in the morgue is so horrible, I don't really want to talk about it. She said, yeah, but that's what I want to know about.
Wow.
If you're there, show us.
Write what you know.
So I did. And I wrote Postmortem. And here's the irony. She saw Postmortem, but she thought it was a rewrite of one of my other books, so she didn't read it. So she didn't take it, which actually turned out probably for the best for me, but because Scribner's turned out to be a good home. But yeah, it was pretty desperate times.
Did you ever think about giving up?
No, I thought about killing myself a few times.
Oh, come on.
I'm not kidding.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I did, because I thought I was a failure. I'm not kidding. After my third book was rejected, I told Dr. Fierro, I said, I feel like jumping off a bridge right now. Mm-hmm. And it was like, but if I do, I know they'll pass my pictures around. Everybody will make fun of me, so I guess I better not. But I felt pretty bad. I felt, everything I'd ever wanted to do in life, I'd failed at. I wanted to be a professional tennis player. It became pretty clear that wasn't going to happen. And then in school, I wasn't good at a lot of things. I wasn't good in math. I wasn't good in science, mostly math. I wasn't in chemistry. I couldn't do any of that. And I didn't want to be a lawyer because I didn't want to be like my father. And the only thing I could do was write. And so when I kept getting books rejected, I thought, you're just a failure, just like you've always been. Maybe you should just die. And I didn't, but I was very depressed, and I had an eating disorder at that time. And I can say all this now because I'd like to tell people, no matter how bad you've ever felt, I've felt just probably almost as bad, maybe just as bad, and don't give up, because you never know. If you're willing to keep trying, something special may land on your shoulder, and maybe it didn't earlier because it wasn't ready for you yet, or you weren't ready for it. Mm-hmm. What the powers to be in the universe said to me was, you're going to have to work in this morgue a whole lot longer before you're ready to take on this lady's lab coat.
Yeah.
And furthermore, you can't ever stop learning.
I find it so interesting that the inspiration for your enormous literary success was a woman, this doctor in the morgue, and that the person who gave you the tip that made you see it from a different angle and choose a lead female character was also a woman.
Yes.
So two very powerful women, one in the literary world and one in the basement morgue, had enormous impacts on your life.
Always, and that's been true my whole life, the most influential people, and no disparagement towards wonderful men, because I've had so many wonderful influences there too, but truth be told, Ruth Graham when I was a kid, Marcella Fierro when I started doing this research, the editor, Sarah Ann Freed, who gave me that kind advice and stopped me from quitting. These people, maybe because they've all been in the trenches themselves, they said, you know what, kiddo, come on, just keep doing it. You just don't give up yet.
Explain the Ruth Graham story, because
Well, Ruth Graham,
she was the
wife
of Billy Graham.
Right, and I grew up down the road from them in a little town in North Carolina, and Ruth befriended me at a very bad time in my life when I dropped out of school. When I had this eating disorder. I had to go in a hospital for a while, and I dropped out of college.
Were you anorexic?
Anorexia and bulimia, and I was down to 89 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And that's 30 pounds less than I weigh right now, and I was literally, it was really bad. And I came out of that hospital, and I was no better than when I'd gone in it. Nothing would help me, and I was humiliated, felt like a total loser. And Ruth Graham sought me out, and she invited me to have lunch with her because she was a neighbor. And I thought, my goodness, why does someone like that give any care about someone like me? But and the first time we went to lunch, I was riding in her Volvo, sitting in the front seat next to her, and she puts this journal, this beautiful burgundy leather journal in my lap. And she'd just come back from Switzerland, and she was a big journal person. And she bought this journal. She said, I want you to have this. She said, you need to write. She said, I've read some of your poetry, and you need to write. That's what you should do. So here, start
writing. Was she the first person who gave you that idea, who planted that seed?
I had teachers that said that I was good at it, but she was the one who said I should do it. And she wanted me to write an article about, okay, I'll be honest about it. Her father was the editor of Christianity Today, this religious magazine. She said, I want you to write an article for the magazine about how you got better from all this. And I borrowed a neighbor's typewriter and worked on it day after day after day. Then one day I called her, Ruth, and said, I need to tell you something. Can I come up? I went up to the mountain and I said, I can't write this because I'm not better. It's not true, and I'm not going to do it. And I thought she'd be angry. And she said, you know what? That's fine. Just do whatever you need to do. But she never judged me.
Wow. So what advice would you give to women as they approach the 50-year mark or who are over 50 and who may be wondering what their place is in the world, in a culture and a society that often values, especially for women, youth and beauty over age and experience? What would you say?
I would always say, first of all, keep looking up. Just think of yourself as a big antenna dish like a Morning Glory and have the dish facing up and ask for, why am I here? I know I'm here for a reason, and let me be what I need to be, and it's never too late to start with that.
It never is.
Never. And don't take getting older sitting down. No matter how we can do, our appearance may change a lot, but we can still be strong and vital, and don't ever stop until you have no choice. Just don't.
Patricia Cornwell, so wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much.
It's so wonderful to talk to you, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Patricia. That brings us to the end of our program. A big thank you to all of our inspiring guests for taking the time to speak with us, and to you for watching. For those of you who missed any of the conversations this afternoon, you can check out the rest of the program on our website, thehill.com. I'm Julia Manchester. Have a great rest of your day.